And we have a person here committed for life, committed to teaching and learning, a person of wisdom, a great intellectual, the guardian angel of Nehru Institute of Technology. He is none other than our most dignified principal, Dr. M. Shivaraja sir. It's an honor itself to honor our respected principal, and we happily give that privilege to our beloved professor, Mrs. L. Nithya ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Ma'am, please.
A very happy morning to one and all present here. It is my great pleasure to introduce our resource person, today's session resource person, Dr. M. Shivaraja sir. He has completed his BE Civil Engineering and PhD Civil Engineering. He also completed his postdoctoral fellowship in composite materials in University at Buffalo, the State University of New York, USA. And he worked as associate professor in Kongi Engineering College, Perundurai, for nearly 8 years, and as principal in NSN College of Engineering and Technology, Karur, for 3 years, and currently he is the principal of Nehru Institute of Technology. He has received many prizes and awards of that is Excellence in Research Award by Education Expo TV, Noida in 2013, and Shri P.K. Das by Nehru Group of Institutions, Coimbatore in 2010. And he received Memorial of Best Faculty Award by Cognizant Technology Solutions, Kongi Engineering College in 2010. Best Faculty Award by the Institution of Engineers, Calcutta in 2009, and in 2007 by Engineering College. And also he received Young Engineer Award and Boys Cast Award and Fellowship Award, Young Scientist Award by DST, and the Career Award for Young Teachers. He is having membership in professional bodies like Indian Society for Technical Education, Institute of Engineers, and Indian Concrete Institute, and he is the member of Indian Association for Structural Engineers, and he is the member of Indian Society for Bridge Engineers, and International Society for member of International Society for Structural Health Monitoring of Intelligent Infrastructure, Canada. And he received various funds in various funding agencies. Few of them are he received rupees 10,50,000 by AICT and 9,70,000 by DST. He has guided more than 12 research scholars. He has been invited for guest for various talks in conferences, workshops, and FDPs. He is the editorial team member of International Journal of Basic and Applied Chemical Sciences. He has published more than 30 papers in international journals and more than 60 papers in conferences. His role also added in various consultancy projects, and he received various funds also. We are also delighted to have such a strong personality today. Welcome you, sir. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Nithya ma'am.
Thank you, dear ma'am. Thank you, dear ma'am, for honoring our guest speaker and come principal. Dear sir, I consider it as a proud moment for me to have this opportunity to humbly request you to take over this dais. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ashik. Professor Mani Harrison, Principal, Nehru Institute of Engineering and Technology. I'm audible now?
Yeah, audible, sir. Very much audible, sir.
And the conveners of today's faculty development program, Dr. Shaktivel, Dean Academic Affairs, Nehru Institute of Technology, and Dr. Subhashri ma'am, Professor and Head, Computer Science and Engineering, Nehru Institute of Engineering and Technology. The coordinators of today's faculty development program, Dr. Durga Devi ma'am from NIET, Professor Geeta and Professor Nithya from Nehru Institute of Technology, my dear fellow colleagues, participants from various institutions. Good morning. So first, I would like to appreciate the organizing team for taking a lot of efforts and pains in organizing this faculty development program. So they have worked hard for last 15 days to 1 month to organize this particular event. So my sincere appreciation and congratulations to the organizing team. I also thank the organizing team for giving me the opportunity to deliver a very small talk about the best practices. Shall I share the presentation?
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, it is not enabled, I think.
Sir, I made you as presenter. I will verify 1 second, please. Sir, is it okay, sir? Sir, now I made you as a presenter. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, visible, sir. Sir, could you unmute, please, sir?
It is audible, sir?
Yeah, yeah, audible now, sir. Please,
Okay,
please.
thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so the faculty development program on outcome-based education and accreditation process. Actually, all the participants who are connecting here, you have learned a lot of things about the outcome-based education and accreditation process for last 2 days. I think I'm the 8th speaker of this faculty development program. Already 7 eminent speakers have delivered very meaningful presentations on various topics of outcome-based education and accreditation process. So I think almost they have covered nearly 90% of portions were covered by the earlier speakers. Only 10% is left. Myself and my fellow colleague Professor Pal Tilak, you are going to cover those 10% in forthcoming sessions. In this session, I would like to touch the topic best practices and OBE to accreditation process for NAAC and NBA. It is a very interesting and very small topic only. It doesn't take much time. So only 45 minutes it will take, I think. So for last 2 days, you have learned a lot of things about the outcome-based education and accreditation process, mainly on the OBE framework, vision, mission, then design of learning outcomes, course file preparation, outcome-based education, teaching, learning methodologies, role of pedagogical tools which are available for effective course delivery, and then assessment metrics, OBE curriculum mapping, attainment of COs, POs, and today morning, Madam has given a wonderful lecture on the active learning strategies, etc. So almost all the topics which are available in the outcome-based education and accreditation process were covered. Now I'm going to touch about the best practices. Okay. So before entering into the best practices, so I would like to touch something on the outcome-based accreditation and outcome-based education. So in 2014, India became the permanent member of Washington Accord. From that point of view, all the accreditation process are emerged as outcome-based accreditation process. So which is the base for this outcome-based accreditation process? Outcome-based education. Now, so what is that outcome-based education? Before going into the outcome-based education, if it is better you understand the meaning of the outcome. There are a lot of meanings that are available for outcome. In my point of view, so how we can define the outcome? Okay, so in earlier stage, in the previous accreditation process, we are bothering about the objectives. Now we are actually transforming into the outcomes. So what is the difference between the objective and outcome? So objective is what intention a teacher has in mind to teach a particular subject. That is called as the objective. Whereas outcome is it is entirely focused on students, what a student able to learn, what a student able to do after learning a particular subject. That is called as the outcome. So there is a difference between the objective and outcome. So
So voice is not audible, sir.
now it is okay. Yeah, it's very sensitive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So outcome-based education should able to demonstrate to attain certain set of knowledge, to attain certain set of skills, and able to demonstrate that had enough information to do a particular activity with respect to the attitude and the behavioral changes. That is the outcome-based education. So outcome-based education should give the guarantee to the learners, to have a particular learner should learn a particular kind of knowledge, particular kind of skills, and particular type of attitude and behavioral change in their mind to get into the predefined career path. Okay, so these are something about the outcome-based education and outcome-based accreditation process. This is a simple example I have given here to explain the outcome-based education. So when students are entering into our institution, they are empty, and then at the end of graduation, the students are achieve some goals and all that. In between that, we are implementing this outcome-based education through some teaching, learning, pedagogical techniques. Now, coming to the outcome-based education and the NBA process, you all know about that. There are 9 criteria which is available in the NBA process for the accreditation process. So vision, mission, program outcome, program curriculum, student performance, faculty contributions, facilities available, and then academic support, governance, and the continuous improvement. These are the 9 important criteria which is available in the NBA. And if you come to the NAAC accreditation, there are 7 criteria available. First one is the curriculum aspects, second one is the TLP, and third one is the research, fourth one is infrastructure, and fifth one is the student support, and sixth one is the governance, and finally the last one is institutional values and best practices. Okay, so for last 2.5 days, almost all the speakers have covered all the 6 criteria in that NAAC accreditation, I think. So now the left out is only the 7th criteria, that is institution values and best practices. So if you take the 1000 marks in the NAAC accreditation process, this best practices, institution values and best practices covers only 100 marks. That is 10% of the total weightage is given for the best practices. So you may think, okay, this has only 10%, so it's not much required like that, but it's not like that. Okay, so even though the best practices has only 10% of marks, 10% of weightage in the NAAC accreditation process, the impact of implementing those best practices in all other 6 parameters, in all other 6 criteria gives the more weightage, and then increase the weightage of particular parameter if you implement a particular best practice in all the parameters. That is a point I would like to mention here. Okay, so that is more important to know about the best practices, and we should implement the best practices in our education systems. Okay, now, so if you take the NIRF ranking also, these are the some of the parameters. So if you take any type of accreditation or any type of ranking, these 4 to 5 things are very much important: teaching any process, and then research, outcomes, graduation outcomes, finally the governance. These 4 to 5 parameters are very much important in the outcome, in the any type of accreditation and the ranking process. Okay, now what is best practice? What is best? Best, that is no perfect definition of best. Best is always best. Okay, so you might come across one word, cheap and best. Okay, some people are telling, I got this particular property in a cheap and best manner, but my point of view, it is entirely wrong. Cheap is always cheap, best is always best. So we never compare cheap and best in a single line. So best is always best. What is best? When you are doing some practice in selecting the best student award or best faculty award in our institution, how we are going to select the best? So which student or which faculty has some unique advantages or unique highlights when compared with the other students or other faculty members? That is called as the best student or best faculty member. So thus the best is always the best. Best should have some unique property. That is the definition for the best. And what is that practice? That is a habit. So if you combine both the words, best practices, that yes, if your system has a unique habit inbuilt in the system, then it is called as the best practices. Okay, now if you go to the best practices, the best practices should have some specific characteristics and then should have some important predictors for their success. These two things are important in selecting the best practices. Best practices should have some specific characteristics, and this best practices should have some predictors for their success. Okay, another important thing is, if you take any particular system, not only the education system, you take any public system or anything there, if you want to implement a particular practice on the existing system, definitely a lot of opposition will happen. Anywhere it will happen. Okay, so that is an important thing in the implementing the best practices. So when you are framing a practice, that practice should require widespread acceptance by the groups, individuals, and the social system. Then will be the best practice, and then only then can be successful one in the practice over the long period. Okay, so we should be take care of that particular point when we are selecting the best practices. And then, so what are the steps involved in this best practices? So first one is identification of the best practice. Second one is sustainability of the best practice. Third one is the dissemination. Fourth one is the adoption, and fifth one is the evaluation. Okay, so now first of all, we have to identify the best practice which is suitable for our existing system or existing outcome-based education. That is, identification is the first process. Second one is the sustainability of the best practice in our existing system. Whether the identified best practice is able to sustain in our system for longer period, that should be analyzed. That is the second stage. And third one is the dissemination of the best practice. How we are going to disseminate that particular practice among all the stakeholders of the system, on the faculty members, students, and the governance of the system. What are the methodologies you are having in the dissemination? That is more important. As I already said, that acceptance level should be high. And then fourth one is the adoption of the best practices. What are the methodologies we are having in our hand to adopting that particular practices in the existing system? Finally, we should have the evaluation process to analyze the outcome of the best practices over the long period. Then only we can decide whether we can continue the best practices for longer period, or we will curtail that best practices now itself. So these 5 things are very much important when we are talking about the best practices: identification, sustainability, dissemination, adoption, and evaluation. Okay, when coming into the best practices for the higher education, so how we can select the best practices? There is any definition? Is there any formula? No, there is no any formula. There is no theory behind this selecting the best practices. Everyone has their own interest in selecting the best practices. There is no limitation of thinking and implementing the best practices in our educational system. And this best practices can be implemented at different level. For example, if you take the institution level, we can do some best practices. We can do some implementation of the best practices in the department level, program level, course level. We can implement among the students, faculty, alumni, parents, industry, resources. So now it's audible?
Sir, actually not audible, please, sir. Now audible. Now audible, please, sir.
Okay. I don't know why it was happened. I automatically muted. Okay, right. So
Please.
yes, sir. So yeah. So now, this best practices can be implemented at any stage, and the selecting of the best practices is depending on the many factors. So what is the size of our institute, where our institute is located, what is the size of our students, what is the capacity of our institution. Lot of deciding factors are available when you are selecting the best practices for our institute. So now, how you can frame up the best practice, how we can write the best practices in a good manner. First, we have to write the goal of that particular best practice. Second one, we should write what is the context, what is the need of that particular best practice in our existing system. And then third one is practice. So what are the methodologies we have adopted for implementing the particular best practices in our system? That is the practice. And fourth one is the evidence of success. So okay, when we have implemented the best practice in our system, what is the outcome of that best practice over the period? So that is called as evidence of success, that is outcome. And then fifth one is the problems encountered. What are the problems that we have encountered when we are implementing that particular best practices in our education system? And finally, what are the resources which are available in our institute for supporting this best practices? These are the 6 things we can concentrate while we framing the best practices. So this is a simple example. You can write the particular goal of the practice about 100 words, and the context, that is describe the context that is required, need of the particular goal in our need of the particular practice in our system, that is the context in about 150 words, and objectives of the practice, that is also can be written. And then practice, what is the methodology, it's about 400 words, and what are the problems encountered, about 100 words, and evidence of success, it's about 100 words, and what are the resources required, about 50 words. These are the simple framework for our writing the best practices in the reports and all that. As I already told, we can implement these best practices at any stage of the process. It is a simple example for our teaching learning methodology. So there are 2 important things. One is the teaching pedagogy, another one is assessment and results. So we can implement at any stage. And it is a simple example of the curriculum instruction model that we are following in our education system. So initially what we are doing, actually we are doing some goal setting. Okay, so analyzing the context, we have set the goal for our program or course, whatever it may be. And then after setting the educational goals, we are going to prepare the curriculum development. After setting out the curriculum, and then we are planning about the instruction methodology. What are the instruction in a methodology, innovative instruction methodology we can plan to deliver that particular curriculum, that is an instructional plan. And then after this instruction, we will attain some learning outcomes, and then it will yield the educational results. So these are the and then all the 6 parameters, 6 stages will be evaluated. That is called as the evaluation plan. Okay, so in this teaching, that is a curriculum instruction model itself, we can implement the best practices at any stage. For example, from the goal setting itself, we can set up best practices. For example, you could take the program education objectives. So if you want to write a program education objective for particular program, for example, if you take the BTech Food Technology program, you want to add a program education objective for that particular program, you can have some good practice in that, writing the PEO. So one of the suggestion is to prepare the graduate to take up a career in entrepreneurship. So that is one of the best practice. When normally we are focusing on the academic results, placements, and career opportunities like that. Instead of that, we are focusing the entrepreneurship as a career for the students in the PEO itself. And then once you introduce the entrepreneurship in the PEO, and then automatically it will cover the entire system. This entrepreneurship will come, and we will work on this in a better way. So similarly, we can implement this best practices in the curriculum development itself. So what are the methodologies we are having in our hand for developing the curriculum in the innovative way? What are the best practices we are having? What are the board of studies we are having? What is the constitution of the board of studies? What is the difference we are having in constitution of the board of studies? That is the curriculum development. And then instruction planning, as Madam said in the previous session, what are the active learning methodologies, active teaching methodologies, learning methodologies that can be adopted in the teaching learning process. In that also we can implement the best practices. So like that, we can implement the best practices at any stage of the curriculum instruction model. Okay. Now, so I already said in NAAC accreditation process, there are 7 criterion. The 7th criterion is the best practices, but the best practices can contribute much in all other 6 parameters, 6 criterions. Best practices in the curricular aspects, best practice in the teaching learning evaluation, in research, consultancy and extension, infrastructure, learning resources, student support and progression, organization and management. So we will see some case studies one by one for this criterion. First one is best practices in curricular aspects. Some of the examples I have read from the other institutions' website as well as in some of the reports. Some of the examples which are available in the reports for the best practices in curricular aspects. So one of the best practices which is shown as industrial presence on the campus or academic presence in the industry. That is one of the best practices they have shown in their report. And field project, curriculum internationalization of values, and then credit-based honors program, holistic traditional discipline through corporate living, and then semester in India program, curriculum restructuring, replacement of general English with the functional English, and then regrouping of courses to provide new subject completion. So some of the examples I have seen in the best practice in the curricular aspects. Now we will take one as a case study. Industrial presence on campus, that is academic presence in the industry. So this is the case study I have taken. Okay, now we can write the best practices report for this case study. First, we have to write the objective. What is objective of this practice? Industry institute interaction in the curriculum programs. So this is the objective of this particular practice. And then second one is what is the need? That is a context. What is the need addressed and the context to provide the study come work experience in the premises of the company. This is the need. Okay. So then what are the practice? What is the methodology we are adapting to implement that particular industry presence on campus practice? This provides attempts to concrete industry institution links in academic studies through innovation strategy. Students selected on the basis of some requirements of merit, experience, etc. So this is the methodology we are following in the system that can be addressed in the practice session. Okay. And then what is the evidence for that particular success? We should show what is the outcome of the students. How many people have undergone internship? How many people have undergone the placement that particular industry? Like that, we can show some evidences for that particular practice. Then what are the problems encountered during this particular practice? Missing of academic classes by the students, availability of the industry in our local area. These are some of the problems encountered in the implementing the practice. Now, what are the resources? The final one is the resources. So MOE with the industry, competent and experienced faculty, and adequate equipment and space, flexible administrative policy. These are some of the resources which are available in institute to support this particular practice. This is a simple example, simple case study I have taken in the academic affairs. Okay. Then second one, the second criteria, best practices in the teaching, learning, and evaluation. What are the examples here available? So teacher board tutorial system, institutional coordination for teamwork, field work, widening access to higher education, incentives for holistic quality performance, value education, evaluation of teachers by students, skill development in physical education, etc. So out of these examples, I have taken the second case study that is called as a teacher board tutorial system. Okay, now for this practice, how we can write the objective to enable the high achievers to reach the excellence and slow learners to reach the minimum qualifying level. That is the objective of this particular teacher board tutorial system. Okay, to enable the higher achievers to reach excellence and slow learners to reach the minimum qualifying level. This is the objective of the practice. Now, why this practice is important? Okay, an average Indian classroom has students of mixed criteria. Okay, so brighter student, both brighter students and the weaker students we are having in our group. So we should have separate methodology to support both the type of students. So that is the need of the particular practice, like that we can mention. And then third one is what is the practice? What is the methodology which is adopted in that system for this particular practice. So we can write anything. So they have written like this: each teacher identifies high scores and low scores. Each staff takes at least 2 to 3 low achievers as his wards under sustained supervision and care to assist them to improve their performance. So first we will select the 2 to 3 slow learners, and then we will allot some teachers for those 2 to 3 slow learners, and then give a lot of importance for those students. We will give additional classes, additional assignments for those students. So like that we can give it. In parallel, we will support the fast learners also to get excellent marks, excellent performance in their examination also. This is a contest. Sorry, this is a practice. This is a methodology which is adopted in our system. Right. What is the evidence of the success? How we can give the outcome in? So outcome can be given as a percentage of passes in the departments. Now it is improved after implementing that particular best practices. So much of increase we have attained in the pass percentage of the students. Like that we can show the outcome. And then problems encountered, additional workload for the faculty members and misunderstanding among the student. When you form the groups, definitely some misunderstanding will happen among the students. The slow learners may feel guilty, and they may have some misunderstanding among the students will happen when you are implementing this particular practice in our system. Okay. So what are the resources available to implement this practice? Willingness, willing teachers to implement the practice, material resources available, and modern instruction materials which are available to implement that particular practice in our educational system. Like that we can deliver and this particular practice in our educational system. This is a second case study. And then if you take the third criterion, best practices in research, consultancy, and extension, some of the examples are there. Developing research competencies in teacher training, and creation of better research ambience, research incentives for the faculty member. That can be shown as nowadays research intensity for the incentives for the faculty members is adopted in almost all the institutions. So creation of research culture among the undergraduate students, university industry interaction, center of excellence, giving best to the least. See, these are some of the examples that can be adopted in the research consultancy and extension criteria. Here, I have taken the creation of research culture among the undergraduate students as a case study. Right. Now, what is the objective of that particular practice? To inculcate the research culture among the undergraduate students. This is the objective. So what is the need? The student need to be encouraged to take up the assignments which will help them to beyond the curriculum they should learn. That is the objective. That is the need of the practice. That can be written like this. And then what are the methodologies we are going to adopt? We will make the students to do a lot of projects, mini projects or some assignments beyond the syllabus, etc. And then we will support them in sitting in the laboratories and do some coding concepts like that. So some of the methodology we are adopting to create the culture, research culture among the undergraduate students. That practice can be given in the description. Okay. Now, what is the outcome? So what are the outcome of the research culture of among the undergraduate students? Definitely it will be the publication, or how many papers they have presented in the conferences or in journals, or how many projects they have developed, how many models they have developed. Like that we can show the evidence of success for that particular creation of research culture among the undergraduate students. And then what is the resources? So college has a very good infrastructure like computer center or research laboratories in our campus. Like that we can show it as a resources which are available in the campus. Okay. So then if you take the fourth criterion, best practices in the infrastructure and learning resources, some of the examples: sharing of the infrastructure, technology assisting pedagogy, technology business incubator center, it is included in one of the institutions, and infrastructure for holistic student development, training students to use college library resources, computer education for all the students, involving students in the maintaining infrastructure, and book reading competitions. These are some of the examples for the best practices in infrastructure and learning resources. What are the infrastructures which are available? How we are going to implement the best practices among the infrastructures? I have taken technology business incubator as one of the case studies for this criterion. Okay, so technology business incubator, it is already one of the It is one of the icon of our Nehru Group of institutions. So I have written it for our Nehru Group of institutions. So the objective of the practice is it is focused to convert the startup ideas into the successful business by providing the mentorship, expertise, and the networking. This is the objective of the practice that will be implemented in our education system. What is the need? So generally, we have to generate the passion among the young graduates. That is the need which is required nowadays. So that's why we are implementing this technology business incubator resources as one of the best practice in our education system. And then what is the practice? What are the processes involved in that particular technology business incubator? We can write out the process. What are the processes involved in TBI? We can write. Then what are the outcomes? How many incubators have generated out of this technology business incubator? So that can be shown as the outcome, evidence of success for this implementing particular practice. And what are the resources which are available? Our TBI is established in the square feet, and what are the facilities available in the technology business incubator? That can be shown as a resources which are available in the particular practice. So these are some of the TBI photos I have shown here. And then fifth one is the best practices in the student support and progress. So in student support, we have a lot of opportunities are available to implement the best practices. So one of the thing is student counseling, affordable training for proficiency, providing personalized mentor assistance to the poor students, placement cell, New-Gen IEDC, obtaining feedback, involvement of alumni in student development, remedial teaching, etc. So these are some of the examples for the best practices in student support and the progress. Now, another important one is a Star College scheme, which is already available in our Nehru Arts and Science College. Is a one of the greatest program they are having in their campus to support their undergraduate students to do a lot of activities under this scheme. So out of this, I have chosen New-Gen IEDC as one of the best practice that can support the student as well as the progression. Right. So what is the objective of this practice? NJ New-Gen IEDC, that is to convert the students' ideas into the prototype. That is the objective of this New-Gen IEDC program. So IEDC practice. Okay. So now what is the need? So we are in a position to motivate, support, and mentor the students for identification and developing and commercialization of their innovative idea. That is the need of our actually. So we have taken this particular practice as the one of the best practice in our education system. That is a need. And then what is a practice? Just I given the flow chart, we can write it as statement. So what are the practices which are available in New-Gen IEDC? We will call the proposals among the students. We call the applications, and then we will scrutinize with an expert committee. Some presentations will happen. After this presentations, first review meeting will be, final selection will happen. Then once the selected projects should submit the quotations, and then the first installment will be released. After that, releasing that first installment, the first review meeting will be held, and after that review meeting, the prototype should be developed by those students. And then after developing the particular, meanwhile, we will release the second installment fund also, and then final stage students will develop the prototype development and the final review meeting. These are the process which are involved in this New-Gen IEDC scheme, which is sponsored by the Government of India. That is also one of the practice we are implementing in our institute for student support. Now, what is the evidence of success? How many projects were supported for that particular institute? What are the outcomes? What are the outcomes in terms of what are the prototypes were developed by the students in that particular institute or particular department that can be shown as the evidence of success? So these are some of the outcomes of our New-Gen IEDC program. Then what are the resources which are available in the New-Gen IEDC program? Also, we can written in the as the statements. Okay, now the final one, best practices in the organization and management. So in that we can give participating management, transparent admission process, faculty staff performance appraisal, decentralization and networking, and then student support, grievance redressal, effective human resource management, total quality improvement and management, etc. So in this, I have taken grievance and redressal as one of the case studies for my presentation. You take the grievance and redressal. What is the objective? To redress the grievances of any member of the institution. So you should redress the grievances arised by the any people among our institution. What is the need? Because we are getting a lot more complaints from the students and faculty members. So we need to have a separate system or separate practice to solve those problems. There is a need. What is the practice? What is the methodology? If any complaint is received from in writing or orally, a committee will be formed, and then chairman convenes the particular committee and then resolve they will inquire that particular problem and they'll give the solution for that particular problem. That is a practice we are following in the grievance redressal system. Now, what is the evidence of the particular system? Number of complaints reduced. The number of complaints should be reduced. Then only that practice is a good practice, is a best practice. And what are the resources available? Formal structure of the redressal grievance system is a formal. Okay. So these are some of the examples I have shown for different criterion of the NAAC framework. Now, coming to some of the examples of best practices which is available in the AICTE website. So AICTE has released one report. In that report, they have mentioned what are the best practices which are available in our AICTE approved institutions. I have listed some of the things. I think almost all the points which are given in that AICTE report that was already implemented in all our institution, I think. Anyway, I will read out some of the important thing. There is a 44 pages report they are giving. I have taken only some examples here. Appreciate the work done by the teachers and students. Set up an industry advisory board for their department or college. And then to pursue the international quality standards. Faculty e-course book. That is a in-house tailor-made digital application they have made for their own institute. That is called as a e-course book. That is one of the best practices that is listed in that particular report. And earn while learn scheme. That is a scheme commonly available in institution. In our institution also, it is already practiced as a best practice. And then value education cell. Efforts for carbon neutrality. Reformed teaching learning process. What are the reformed structure, reformed teaching learning methodology which has adopted in that particular institute. And then experiential learning, that is a field visit or internship, etc. And collaboration with the Indian Army. That is one of the best example I have seen. In that collaboration with the Indian Army, it is one of the best practice they have shown in the report. So they have some collaboration with the Army, and then they are conducting a lot of programs in association with the Indian Army. They are deputed their students to take some training in the Indian Army also. So for that, they are giving as a best practice. And then rural sanitation drive in the surrounding areas, assistive technology lab, engineering clinic they are having in their institute. Another one is the Dean HOD's positions by rotations for 3 years. This is also one of the best practices they have shown in their report. Now, NAAC report. Actually, NAAC also have given some of the best practices. They have released some of the reports related to the best practices in all the criterion. Just I have given some examples, one due to the time constraint. Best practices in the curriculum aspect, choice-based careers. Almost they are given nearly 40 to 50 best practices. But I feel almost all the best practices are obsolete nowadays, because almost all the institutions have implemented those best practices in their institution. Anyway, for your idea, just I am reading out the best practices which is given by the NAAC report. Choice-based career system, experiential learning, curriculum to cater diverse needs, work-based modular curriculum, research integral part of curriculum, training need analysis for the curriculum development, curriculum for learners with different learning abilities, innovative curriculum practices, curriculum quality, curriculum restructuring, curriculum towards holistic education, etc. So these are some of the examples shown in the NAAC report. If you take the best practices in the community engagement, some sort of awareness programs, tribal village development, rehabilitation of the women prisoners, service learning through blood donation, catering of the senior citizens, social insurance awareness program for BPL community, total literacy drive, using infrastructure and learning resources for the social transformation, changes of lifestyle through the low cost nutrition. Some of the example which is given for the community engagement. Now, even if it is for the examination process, also we can show some best practices. So internal evaluation system, online examination for the internal evaluations, integrated software solutions for examination process system, electronic distribution of the examination papers, instant examination, that is a supplementary examination we are conducting, that is called as instant examination. They are mentioned in the report. Time scheduled, student friendly, transparent examination system, and Tatkal system for issuing the mark sheet. One of the university mentioned that particular Tatkal system as a best practice to issue the mark sheets to the students. Issue a photocopy of the answer scripts and revaluation of the facilities. That it is one of the best practices they are adopted in their university. Comprehensive internal evaluation system, transparency in the evaluation process, question paper related grievance redressal mechanisms. These are some of the examples for the best practices in the examinations. Now, what is the best practice available in the students' feedback? It is almost all the points we are already implemented in all the institutions. So some of the residential systems, 24/7 feedback, ward tutorial system, students send out open house, feedback and action plan, collective feedback system. So some of the things they have shown in the report. This is for your idea. Okay. So what are the best practices we are having in our mind to implement in our institutions? So some of the examples, this is my personal view. I have some ideas, some to implement in our institute. So department advisory board is actually already we have started this department advisory board. Each department will have an advisory board for their own department. That advisory board consists of different eminent personalities, 2 from academic and 2 from research side, and 2 from industry side, and 1 from the startups. So like that, we will have 7 people in this particular department advisory board. So when we are writing the framework for this best practices, how we can write, what is the objective of the department advisory board to give the guidance for the faculty members as well as students to travel in the right path. That is the objective of this department advisory board. And then what is the need? Okay, so we are affiliated college, and then we have limited access to change the curriculum and all that. There is no access to change the curriculum. So we have the another practice to frame the parallel curriculum to run the institute. So that is a need of the particular practice in our institute. That is called as a need. And then if you take this practice, how this department advisory board serves for our institute, serves for our department, what are the methodology we are going to adopt, we can write it as. What is the outcome? What is the outcome? So how it is evaluated? What are the points they have raised? What are the suggestions they have given in the minutes? For that minutes, what is the outcome we have achieved in the departments? That can be shown as the outcome of that. Like that, for second one is the domain group. Each department will have the domain group for their own departments. So for example, you take the computer science engineering department, some domain web development and programming, coding, like that. So different domains we will identify and define, we will form the domain group among our departments. And then third one we are planning to implement is walk to library, because utilization of resources which are available in the institution is limited nowadays. So we are having an innovative idea to implement, that is called as a walk to library program, to utilize the particular resources. What are the resources that are available in the institute that should be utilized properly, so that we have framed the walk to library program. And then startup grants for our students through this New Gen IVC program and TBI. And then innovative competition cell. Normally we are concentrating on the co-curricular and extracurricular activities as participation in the paper presentation, papers writing in the journals, or some internship, etc. So apart from that, we have we are looking for some innovative competitions. So this innovative competition cell will support the students to get some achievements in the innovative competitions like hackathons, strikeathons, or startup mania competitions like that. So that is one of the best practice we have planned in our mind. Another one is the live-in labs. So it is also to utilize the resources that are available in our institute effectively by the students and faculty members. That is a practice we are planning. So live-in labs. Another one is a very interesting one is the research semester. It is meant for other faculty members. Normally, if you take the both the art semester and event semester, faculty workload will be very high in the art semester, and in the event semester, little bit freedom we will have in the workload. So some faculty members will have some relaxation. In that, what we are planning to do this. So some faculty members, those who are really very much interested in research and development activities, we are going to adopt that particular semester as a research semester for that particular faculty member. So they will sit in the research lab, they will do a lot of research activities for the complete semester. Then only we will get the complete some outcomes out of this research activities. We can have some research publication or research products we will have. So to facilitate our researchers, we are planning to implement the research semester for the faculty members. This is one of the best practices we are having in our mind. Okay. Then green campus, maintaining the green campus by our students. And then employees satisfaction survey. We are having a lot of exit survey, student survey, alumni survey, industry survey, employee survey, etc. So employees satisfaction survey, it is a best practice, should be adopted in any institute, whether the employees working in that particular organization are satisfied or not. That survey should be taken in a different scale. So that is the one of the practices. And then equal opportunities, different variety of people are working or studying in the institute. So we should have the equal opportunity cell in that in our institute. That is the one of the best practices we are thinking over that. And then village adoption, tutorial for unprivileged children. These are some of the community programs we have planned. Artificial groundwater recharging, setting up a vegetable garden, because we are having agriculture engineering department and food technology department in our institute. So we are going to do some vegetable gardens in our institute. That is converted as a best practice in our NAAC report and all that. And then networking with alumni. So there's a common thing which is available in almost in all the institutions, networking with alumni, with existing students. But how we are going to network that particular alumni in the existing teaching learning process is the matter. So we have some innovative ideas to implement that particular practice in our institute. And then another one is the finishing academy. Actually, we have finishing academy in our institute for all the departments. What is the function of that finishing academy? That is the that academy has a parallel curriculum that is beyond the existing university curriculum. Okay, so to give the exposure, industrial exposure to the students, we are running a parallel curriculum in our department to support the students in getting the very good career path. There is a finishing academy concept we are having in our institute for almost all the departments. Then OBE manual. So we are having a lot of manuals like laboratory manuals. We are planning to have the outcome-based education manual for our own institute, and then that manual will be circulated for all the stakeholders, and that manual will be maintained by all the stakeholders. That is one of the best practices we are thinking in our mind. Another one is entrepreneurship in the PEOs, and then coding campaign. See, these are some of the examples to my level, to my thinking. I have given this. So many people have different ideas, different best practices, their own experience, so that can be implemented in the educational systems. So I would like to conclude this session by saying two things. Best practices can be performed at any level, at any stage, but those best practices should possess some good impacts on outcomes of the outcome-based education. It should reflect in the outcomes, knowledge, skill, attitude, because these three things are very much important for the outcome-based education. The learner should achieve some certain knowledge, some certain skills, and some certain of attitude change in their mind. These three things are important. So when you are implementing the best practices in the outcome-based education, some good impact should be available in the outcomes. That is the thing. So we can do two things. We can do different things. Also, we do things different ways. So, for example, if you select the best practices which are already available in the institute, no problem. You can take that particular best practice, or you can adopt in your institute also, but the implementation strategy should be very different. You can implement in the different way. That also your best practices. Okay, and then do different things. So you need not to bother about the existing best practices which are available in the institute. We can think about the alternative best practices, unique best practices for our institutions. So whatever it may be, so it may be the existing best practices that can be implemented in the different way, or we are framing the separate best practices, unique best practices for our institution. That can be done both the way. We can do that, no problem. The only thing is we should have the proper outcomes in the outcome-based education. That is the thing we are having. So these are some of the references I have quoted here. I have referred to these 4 reports. Thank you so much for your patience, and it's a very small presentation. I think it covers only 1 hour. Anyway, thank you so much all.
Sir.
Yeah, in a discussion we can do.
Sir, Principal Sir, we are extremely happy. All our participants and all very happy and given very positive feedback on chat box. My dear participants, I would like to request you all, if you wanted to discuss with the sir for further clarification, please unmute and you can speak.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Thirumarai Chelvan from Adipura Shakti Engineering College.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello, sir. Could you please tell us what are the practices you are following to encourage the students to access library resources?
Sir, actually, I already mentioned walkthrough library program you are following. Actually, separate hours which is allotted in our timetable for the library hours, but it is a common thing which is available in all the institutions. But how that particular library hours is implemented, that is the question. So we are trying to give some problems which is related to the technologies and all that. So beyond the curriculum, we are giving some of the problems, and then we ask them to walk to library and work in the library and ask them to submit that particular solution for that particular problem in the regular timetables. That is one of the things. Not only in the regular timetables, so even the beyond the working hours also, we are encouraging our students to sit in the library to take up the particular problem, give the solutions on the next day. That is a simple thing we are following in our institute.
Because nowadays students are losing their reading habits, and whatever they want, they can access that through the internet using their electronic gadgets.
Yeah, yes, sir. I know, yes, sir. Actually, reading is a very good habit. We can't omit that particular habit, even though we have a lot of digital resources. So sitting in the library and reading the books is a very good habit. So that we are having some methodology to implement to create the interest among the students as well as the faculty to utilize the resource library in an effective way. That is the thing we are doing. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.